Hello boys and girls, welcome to a short video where we're going to talk about the trinkets, the healer trinkets that are going to be present in Season 3, what's good, what's bad, and what you should be looking for to get as soon as you can once we get the Mythic Plus dungeons and the raid next week. So, the best thing that we're probably going to be able to get our hands on is the Pip's Emerald Friendship Badge. This one drops from the Console of Dream, which is, let's say, the third boss in the raid. And this one is pretty good because it gives you intellect and then it gives you secondary stat, anything but haste. I guess that's the bad part, there's no haste. But you can get either mastery, verse, or crit strike. And once you get to the point where this changes, which is just a random event that occurs, you actually get a huge boost of 3000 of that stat. So, obviously, as you can see, this one is not only intellect, but also agility and strength. So the demand for this one is going to be pretty high. But if you can get your hands on it, it's definitely going to be one of the better trinkets in the upcoming season. If you cannot do the raid and you want some easier access to options, the Congealed Geneser Blood is basically giving you intellect, and then it can proc and give you a lot of critical strike. Obviously, if crit strike is good for you, this is going to be better than the other options for sure, but also pretty easy to get because it's from Everbloom. The last boss, Yaunu, drops it, so you can just spam farm it as well. The same stands for the C-Star, which gives you verse, not intellect, not primary stat, which verse is, let's say, not bad. At the worst case, if you scale good with verse, it's good. If not, it gives you some damage mitigation and increased damage and healing. And then you have a chance to proc a lot of intellect for 15 seconds. So that's definitely not a bad option at all. And you can get this trinket from Throne of the Tides. So it's definitely something that you might want to explore. Or if you get it to drop and you don't have anything better, it's definitely one of the top trinkets that you can obtain for this tier. And then let's close top 4 with the Echoing Tear Stone, which drops from obviously Tear in Murzone's Rise. This one gives you intellect, it's on use, and once you press it, you start recording your healing in the next 10 seconds. So when you press it, you better be healing. And then this healing is stored until somebody in your party drops below 35% health. Then this healing is released, it's spread among your allies, and you get haste for that time. So it's not a bad trinket at all because it's on-demand healing. It will proc whenever somebody needs to be healed, as long as you have some stored healing inside, of course. And it will give you some haste. It's a 2-minute cooldown, so it's not a bad trinket at all. Alright, so let's say that this is the top 4, pretty much. We can get some honorable mentions for some of the other trinkets. So Amalgam 7 Spine. This one drops in Blackrook Hold. And this one changes based on your class. So for Paladin, it's pretty bad because it will give you mana back every time you cast Holy Light or Flash of Light. So if you're not interested on mana, or the skills that you need to be casting are not something that you're using in your rotation, then this is not going to be a good trinket for you. It could be good, for example, for Druid, because the proc for the mana comes from Rejuvenation and Regrowth, etc. But basically you can explore it and see if it's good for your class or not. As I said, it's kind of really dependent on the spell and whether or not mana is going to be a problem for whatever you're doing. Another good trinket is, let me find it here, the Balefire Branch. This one also gives mastery, and it has a pretty short cooldown, minute-and-a-half cooldown, which you can press to get a huge boost of intellect, which decays over 20 seconds. So if you're fine with unused trinket and mastery is not bad for you, you can definitely explore that option. And speaking of mastery, another honorable mention goes to the Leave of Ancient Protectors. It's also mastery, and it's basically a very nerfed version of the ward that we have in Season 2, because you can give a shield to an ally, and if the shield is fully consumed, they'll also get a verse boost. So this is definitely not going to be one of the good trinkets in Season 3, but there could be some niche situations where you need to shield somebody. Then in this case, that trinket is not bad in this scenario at all. As you can see, the shield is not small at all. And of course, it doesn't give you intellect. It's a mastery, so that's a trade-off as well that you have to deal with. There is one more trinket from Dawn of the Infinite. It's called, let me find it. It's called Mirror of Fractured Tomorrows. So this one gives you, obviously, intellect primary stat, and then when you press it, you get a huge boost of your highest secondary stat. So it's not a bad trinket at all. It doesn't perform as good as some of the top trinkets that we already mentioned, but it's a stat trinket, right? So it's on use, of course. A 3-minute cooldown is quite long, but it's not one of the worst trinkets, let's put it this way, this season. Few honorable mentions, I guess the Revitalizing Voodoo Totem, which drops in a Tau Desire. It puts a halt in the target, and it has a 1.5-minute cooldown. Obviously, this trinket is easily outperformed by anything else that we mentioned so far, but if that's the only trinket that drops for you and that's the only option you have, you know, you can use it whatsoever. The Blood of Amidrasil is actually a rare trinket that drops from the last boss in the raid, but unfortunately, it's not good at all. It doesn't give you any primary stat under any form, which is obviously bad. It gives you haste, so unless haste is really good for you, the other thing that it gives you is an effect that procs approximately every minute, and it puts some healing out in people and gives them absorb shields, etc. But the point is, this is not strong enough, that healing is not big enough for you to take it and lose main stat. The other honorable mention that I'll do is basically a combination of two trinkets. So one of them is the Lady Crest music box, which has a set bonus if you combine it with the Lord Waycrest signet ring. So the music box basically has a chance to proc damage or healing based on the spells that you're using, and then if you combine it with the ring, there's another proc that could proc on top of the procs to give you a secondary, I guess, spell. We can call it a spell, secondary damage or healing spell, based on what you're casting. So it's a lot of ifs here, it's a lot of procs. I actually played with this on the PTR quite a lot. It does proc, you get some extra healing, you get some extra damage, but the numbers are not big, so unless you have any other options, you know, I wouldn't recommend this at all. Besides, the ring is crit and... sorry, that's the wrong ring. The ring is crit and verse, so you can use those only if these stats are actually good for your class. Otherwise, you'll be losing stats, and you're relying on a proc that's not that strong anyway. So, that's all the trinkets that we're going to be looking at in Season 3. There's more, of course, but I skipped them intentionally because obviously they're not very good compared to what you saw. And if you don't get any of these to drop, you can always look into some crafting options from Jewel Crafting and Alchemy, but they're going to be pretty good overall, but they will not overperform the top trinkets that we already mentioned. So let me know what you think of the trinkets that are coming up in Season 3. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, take care, and wherever you are, be there.